Dick's special guest is Kirk Douglas. Ladies and gentlemen, Dick Cavett.
Thank you very much. I'm, as you know, Kirk Douglas. I know you people know I'm not, but there's heavy squinting going on in the balcony. There's heavy everything going on in the balcony. Anyway, you know I'm not Kirk Douglas. How could there be a talk show host named Douglas? Oh, wait. But anyway, very good to see you. I'm back now 2 days from my vacation, and it's vacations are nice, but work is better. How many believe my sincerity there? You did. Some of you... Really? My uncle, the used car dealer, will now pass among you to get your names. That's very gullible. It's nice. Speaking of cars, there's an odd thing in the news. Sterling Moss has had his driver's license taken away. Did you see that? For 6 months for a traffic violation, the great race driver. Absolutely true. That's terrible. He cannot... That's like taking away Van Cliburn's piano or Heifetz's violin or Rosengarten's frisbee or I don't know what. I can't tell you what it's like. Say, one of our highly decorative secretaries is leaving. She quit today. She said that she's been made to feel like a dummy around the office. And that she's just leaving, the end of June or the 1st of July, whichever comes first. Just a joke. Say, are you out from out of town, any of you? From out of town? You'll be glad to know, yeah. The Commissioner of Health has said that all New York beaches are safe this summer. It's the ocean that's polluted. Do you know the lifeguards are on strike? They still are, yeah. But some of them are showing up for work anyway, out of, you know, conviction and all. And so if you are swimming and you begin to drown, and a guy swims out and grabs you and says, "Are you for labor or management?" You know what to say. What else? There's not much in the news. The Wall Street Journal actually had this item that what do they call them? What's that company called? The Playtex company, yeah. Has a campaign out against the no-bra look, and they've actually hired an agency and all. Did you read about that? That's true. I make that up. I have a suggestion for a patriotic slogan for them. Support our girls at the front. No good. All right. Listen, you know who my guest is, and I want to hurry to get to him because there's a lot to him. But now, here's how to make a lot of things taste better in a shake. We'll be back with Kirk Douglas. Stay with me. My only guest tonight is a real movie star, fine movie actor. Kirk Douglas I guess he's been part of our lives for about a generation and more, and had an astonishing career and played an astonishing variety of characters. Just to refresh your memory, he led a slave rebellion in the Roman Empire. He ran a mythical crime syndicate. He sneered in the face of beautiful ladies. He has sometimes just flexed his dimpled chin. He has managed to get in harm's way. Had his face slashed ostentatiously. He's stared down the Cyclops with one eye closed. He shot it out at the OK Corral. He liberated Norway from the Nazis. He was part of a mutiny in the French army in the other World War, and he went to the south of France to paint, covered his dimple and lost his ear, and got up off the floor to become the world's champion. You know, of course, that I'm talking about the incredible Debbie Reynolds, Kirk Douglas, right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know, it's really, doing something like this is really very difficult. A lot of people don't realize that for an actor, he feels very secure behind that montage of photos that you were showing. Then you're playing a role, you've got wardrobe, you've got a part to hide behind. But when you come out like this, you really feel completely naked because you have to be yourself. But I want to confess one thing to you. I must say that Dick Cavett is very helpful because just before I went on, he told me that, he says, look, just to remind you, the chair you sit in is the one that I'm not sitting in. So...
I guess I tend to treat actors like dummies, I guess.
Exactly.
I didn't mean to.
As a matter of fact, I want to interrupt you again, Dick. You know, you said on your...
It's hard for him, but easy for me tonight.
You know, you said, I was listening, it was very amusing, and you were jokingly saying you were Kirk Douglas. Now, on my way to the theater tonight, I was rushing because I love to walk in New York. And I was a little late, so I was walking rather fast, and somebody from across the street yelled to me, "Hey!" And he ran across and he said, "Gee, my favorite actor." And I said, "Thank you, I'm in a little hurry." He said, "You know, I'm so excited and so nervous." He said, "Your name went right out of my mind." Well, I said, "My name's Douglas." "Yeah," he says, "Douglas Fairbanks, my favorite actor." So it's very important when you say, you know, it's very important when you say who you are.
Yeah.
You know,
But you do have a beard, though, and so there's a little confusion there. I mean, as to whether it's actually you or not, because the...
if I wear a beard, Dick, it's because I'm either just going out of a picture or going into another one.
Yeah.
Right now, I'll be going into a picture that calls for a beard, and I can't stand, you know, one of those false beards.
I feel I should ask someone of your stature an important question right off the bat, and so I will. Carol Burnett was here last night and wanted to know how you clean your dimple in your chin.
Dick.
No,
Dick.
Burnett.
Dick.
Yes, Mr. D.
Is nothing sacred?
No, I mean, I wanted to get that out of the way right away because...
I mean, must there be no secrets between me and me?
Well, I thought we'd get that out of the way because she wanted to know. Her heart seemed set on it, the silly girl.
As a matter of fact, in a picture I did once with Kim Novak, that was one of the lines where she kept staring at me. I said, "What's the matter?" She says, how do you shave that?"
Yeah.
Well, the answer's in that picture, Dick.
So, go back and see the movie, and I'll know the answer. There have been all sorts of rumors about it, like something lives in there, and all sorts of strange things. And I know you're sick of that.
No.
Hey.
As a matter of fact, someone once said that there's a little midget with a straight razor who jumps down there and cleans it out.
I'd believe it. But it isn't. I'm sorry we can't see it because I saw your film last night. We'll talk about that later, but it is quite a phenomenon, the chin. It's
there.
It's the most...
as a matter of fact, it's not really a dimple. Let's face it. It's a hole in the chin.
Is it really? Yeah.
Is it really?
Is it? Well, I don't know. I mean, I know that if we could see it, it would be the most cleavage we've had on the show in a long time. But enough of that. Now that's over.
You know, when you say, "Is it really?" One day I was riding to Palm Springs. I have a home in Palm Springs, and I was in a little car, and a sailor was hitching a ride, and I stopped, and I picked him up, and he looked at me, and he got very excited. He said, "Hey, do you know who you are?"
Did he?
He wanted to share something.
That is, people cannot believe sometimes when they, well, especially a face like yours. Can you go anywhere? Can you go in and buy a spool of thread, for example, and have the lady in the dime store not know?
Well, the last time I bought a spool of thread, no one recognized me.
Hey, something we get past, and I thought we ought to do this now. You'd mentioned Kim Novak and all the leading ladies that you've done. There's a bit of film that's been sort of assembled that shows the incredible number of women who've passed through your hands.
Well, you know,
in the years.
You see, Dick, you know, most people have a distorted idea, you know, of a movie actor. I mean, it all seems rather simple, but a lot of people don't realize. For example, if I do, like I worked recently in a picture with Faye Dunaway. Mm-hmm. Now, an actor, I'd have to get up in the morning about 6:30, take a shower, rush through my breakfast, jump in the car, go down to the studio, get into wardrobe and makeup, and then at 9 o'clock in the morning, under those hot lights, I'd have to start making love to Faye Dunaway hour after hour after hour. And these are the things that actors have to do.
Yes. It's awful, but it beats unemployment. Could we roll that bit of film? Take a look at this. Oh, the mics will stay open. See what memories this brings back.
Well, these are films of people that I've worked.
Yeah, ladies.
Yes.
Ladies.
Oh, this is a picture I did, Bad and the Beautiful, with Lana Turner. It's one of the first times I played a love scene, and look how tenderly I hold her. This was my first big moment with a big love scene with a big star like Lana Turner.
Were you ever tempted to...
This is seriously one of my favorite scenes from Spartacus.
No.
Oh, I didn't mean to be so...
Why don't you kiss me? This is the first time I was ever going to have a baby.
Baby.
I'm just the same as I ever was, Spartacus.
Well, this is a scene with Kim Novak. That's the picture I was talking about.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this scene is most movies nowadays you find somebody zipping it down, and here I zip it up.
Was that a sound or silent film?
It's Ava Gardner in 7 Days in May.
Oh, yeah.
Do me a favor. Don't complicate my life right now. I just got over a very bad burn. Anything you say will be wrong.
This is Faye Dunaway in the arrangement, Dick.
You don't have to say a word.
But they think I'm crazy. I mean, literally nuts. And if you... Oh, shit.
What time is it?
5:30.
Hello. Yes, Charles. Yes. Yes, thank you, Charles.
You know, Dick, as I was watching these clips from movies that I've done, I suddenly realized, you know, an actor is supposed to immerse himself in the role.
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to be the character that he's playing. And as I watch those clips, I have a feeling that sometimes a little bit of Kirk Douglas creeps into these scenes.
I would think it'd be hard to keep it out, yes. I was going to ask how you keep in such terrific shape, but now we know from seeing that series of film. We'll be right back after this brief message. We just saw all those ladies that you've worked with. Hitchcock said in an interview once that it's very hard for the romance on the screen not to carry over into the private lives of the actors. Have you found this true? And another thing I want to ask.
Now that we've answered that,
you're free to reject any question that. Now, I don't know where he said that. I think maybe it was in that Truffaut interview that he had found that it often happened. I don't see why it should. You can keep a professional
well, as a matter
distance.
Of fact, I don't think, seriously, Dick, I think very often you might have a very good relationship with the person that you're working with, your leading lady, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the scenes you play will necessarily be good. In other words,
that's interesting.
It doesn't work. You know, people love to say, oh, they're great romance carried over and spilled over on the screen. I don't think that's true. I think it's something how, you know, you play a scene and something catches fire or it doesn't. In other words, I don't think that it necessarily follows because two people have a very close rapport that it's going to carry over into that scene.
I think, if anything, it might even inhibit it because they would be aware of maybe comparing it with what's going on stage.
Yes.
You really have been through some incredible things in your career. I mean, the violence of the things you've been through in the films. Have you ever been badly hurt?
Yes, I've been hurt several times. I broke my nose in a picture, I broke a finger, and I broke a rib. You know, it's strange because when I started my career, you're studying Shakespeare and Ibsen, and then you start doing movies, and then suddenly you have to learn how to mount horses and juggle and skip rope and fight. And And suddenly all that Shakespeare training, you wonder whatever happened to that. Yeah. And I actually think that in theater, acting, movie making, in your field, I really think that vitality, energy, is the first requirement. Because if you don't have vitality and energy, you can't do anything else.
Do you do push-ups every day or a regimen of exercise?
I do exercise every day because so many of the movies that I've done involves so much exercise that has been conditioning, but I always do 5 to 10 minutes of exercise. I think that's all. Oh, I think that's all you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Let's take a look at some of the things that you have done here. This is a series of action.
Oh, this is a thing
series
with
of
the
action things.
As a matter of fact, I think this starts with a scene I did years ago from the Juggler when I played a clown, and I actually had to learn juggling. Oh no, this is a scene from Champion. That's when I had to learn to skip rope. Fast on my feet, huh? You know, sometimes I scare myself. This was a montage. Oh, this is the scene of the juggling from a picture called The Juggler that I did years ago.
To actually learn juggling for a movie is really a...
Yeah, I did a clown routine. I love this. I think everybody's a frustrated clown, you know, Dick? Oh, this was a scene from a picture called...
Is this what you're trying to
Man Without a Star.
Yeah. Well, how about this?
Pretty good aim, huh?
Holy smoke! Or would you rather do this?
Seriously, how many takes did this take?
When you're showing off, it only takes one take, Dick.
When do I learn that? You don't. That's all a lot of hogwash, kid. Look, know this. Twirling a gun never saved a man's life. There's only one thing you gotta learn. Get it out fast. And then put it away slow.
That's good advice.
Get what I mean, kid?
Cooper mount. It's an adult version
This
of
was a
leapfrog.
series of...
The reverse Cooper mount is leapfrog with a twist.
Preparing for a picture I did with John Wayne called the War
called
Wagon.
scissor mount
Did you ever
because
hurt
of the way
yourself
the
doing
legs
this?
Yes.
I'd rather not hear about it if you don't mind.
The trick,
The
of course,
side
is to make
scissor
everything look easy.
Oh, nice.
But believe
But
it
it
or not,
doesn't always
the most
work.
difficult mount of all is the mount that never makes it. This calls for real acrobatic skill.
You miss occasionally. We usually don't put those on film. This is a scene from Spartacus. It's a wonderful gladiator scene with Woody Strode.
That looked very dangerous when you did that.
Well, as a matter of fact, it really was, Dick, because we did a stupid thing. You see, those are actually made of hard metal.
They're not rubber.
And no, it's not rubber at all. That's all hard metal, and if you miss, somebody could get hurt.
Yeah, and you want the take to look good, so you...
Exactly. We tried it with rubber, never looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to take a message from our local stations. You probably need a rest after that. We have a message. We'll be right back. Stay where you are. Talking with Kirk Douglas, but that's obvious if you're watching on television. If you're listening on radio, you might not know if you just tuned in. What am I talking about? You know, when I have a beard, I look exactly like you. Well, approximately like you.
You know, we were talking about earlier, Dick, about mistaken identity. I think the wildest thing that happened to me once, Burt Lancaster's a friend of mine, and he did a picture years ago called Trapeze.
Yeah.
He's very good in it. And one day, Burt and I were having dinner in a restaurant in Palm Springs. And a man came up, had a few drinks, and he walked right past Burt, came right up to me, and started off by saying, "Mr. Mitchum?" Now, that was just the beginning. And I never corrected him. I said, "Yes." He says, "Mr. Mitchum, I want to tell you how wonderful I thought you were in trapeze." I mean, this is what you call a triple mistake. He got it all confused.
That doesn't crush you to think that they don't have the...
Oh, no. I think that,
I mean...
Dick, I think very often, usually when I meet people, I always say, hello, my name's Kirk Douglas. Well, I know who you are. But very often I think people recognize you. You know, they may have seen you, but sometimes they get a little bewildered. You know, they know the face is familiar. I did the reverse on someone once. I was in a town for personal appearances with a movie, and it was in a big hotel, and there was a big convention taking place. And as I got in the elevator, there were a lot of people around. You know, they'd had a few drinks, and they all had, a lot of people had these badges on, you know, it says Joe Tyne, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And a fellow walks in with one of these badges, and he's all excited. Hey, he says, Kirk Douglas. And I said, Joe. He says, how do you know me? I said, aren't you Joe Tyne? He says, yeah. The sign is right there like that. I said, well, it is Joe Tyne, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah, he said. I said, Joe, by this time I was almost at my floor. I said, Joe, I'm surprised you don't even remember. And I walked out of the elevator.
Oh, no. To this day...
So if Joe Tyne's listening...
Now he knows how you knew. We've crushed him. Does the pressure ever get too great? I know that your life is, you referred to it as a sort of almost corny story because you really, all the cliches, rags to riches, your parents came over as immigrants, you had no money, your father was a peddler, as I remember.
That's right.
All of that. You've said that it's almost a B-movie plot,
well,
the story of your life.
Almost, it really is. You know, when I did a tour for the State Department, my wife and I, we went around talking to students all over the world, and you see, my life, that B story, is the, you know, it's the American story. It's the thing that's a B story here. It's an A story in any other country. It happens often here, but you go outside of the United States, it doesn't happen very often. I mean, I have many friends whose parents were immigrants, who struggled like I did, didn't have enough to eat, and then they went off to become lawyers, you know, doctors, then a few go wrong like myself and become actors.
Yeah. But it's really a dream come true in a sense, in that cliche sense. Was there ever a time when you really had the dream, I will be a famous actor someday, or did it just unfold?
You know, after I graduated from St. Lawrence University, Dick, I was working, I was going to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, studying to be an actor, and I was working as a waiter in Schraff's restaurant. And I remember one night, I had my pocket full of tips, and I was walking down Central Park. I'd had a few beers, and a few of the other waiters, who all would-be actors, were walking down, and I pointed up to the Hampshire House, and I said, one of these days, I said, I'm going to come back to this town, and I'm going to take a suite on the 25th floor, and I'm going to look down at this park. And it was wonderful having this dream. Yeah. And sure enough, in B-story fashion, years later, I did a picture Champion. I came back to New York, and I took a suite on the 25th floor, and I looked down at Central Park, and very honestly, I was rather sad. And I felt as if, I think what happens is when a dream is fulfilled, it leaves with it a certain amount of sadness. So I think that you always have to have another dream quickly to replace the dream. I don't think that...
What can you do, though, beyond that? The 28th floor? Or,
yeah. No, but seriously, you have to always strive. You have to have something that you have to strive for, or you're robbed. I mean, Tennessee Williams deals with this in a preface in one of his books. He calls it the catastrophe of success, in which he explains this feeling that happened to him. Yeah. And so I think a fulfillment of one dream should be replaced with another dream. Do you dream a lot, by the way?
Do I dream a lot?
Do you have dreams?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have some that would curl your beard. But television is hardly the place to talk about them. But I don't remember... Yeah, I have a corny one once. I don't think I ever told anybody this, but I once was... Do you want to hear it? Do you have a degree in psychiatry? Can you help me?
No, but I'm very sympathetic and I'm a good listener, and I want to hear about this.
I was crossing Madison Avenue one time, and I was a really out-of-work actor. I can remember a nickel rolled off the bureau one morning, and it went down where I could never get on the floor. And I thought, that's how poor I am. I'm going to have to walk to work. I was going to take the subway with that nickel, and it done. And I was walking around that day, and I was really discouraged, just making the rounds, and I saw a silver spire on top of a building that the sun hit just right. And I thought, that's a sign that my career is going to take an upward turn, and I'm going to come out. I don't know. And you know nothing happened for years after that? No, but I remember thinking that's like in a movie. There's that silver spire,
but seriously, Dick.
But now here I am on television talking to Kirk Douglas, and it's an empty experience.
No, I tell you,
it's like you said.
But I tell you, Dick, I tell you why. I tell you why you failed. You see, you heard. Look, Dick, we talk about image.
Yes.
You see what I mean? Now, I used to come on a television show the way you are. I always wore a tie, a shirt.
Yeah.
You see, that's the wrong image. Now, you watch the up-and-coming people now. Never wear a tie, never sit, you know. If you took off the tie, seriously, Dick.
Oh,
I mean, take off the tie. Unbutton, not too low. No, this is a family show.
I'll just loosen it.
Now you're a hit, right?
Yeah? Wait a minute, I'm getting my compulsion. You've released my compulsion. I take my shirt off at the oddest times. Yeah. Now, if you were really a loose guy like you're telling me to be, you'd take your shirt off. All right, I'm not.
No, you don't.
See a chicken or not? What, you have another dimple we don't know about? I'm sorry,
I'm a neighbor.
See, when the mood passes, I don't know what to do.
You know, as it is, I'm in trouble with my wife. The last thing she said to me is, when you go on Dick Cavett's show, please, it's a very dignified, he's a very erudite fellow. Please be dignified. I'm in trouble already.
I hope she's watching now. We have a station break, and we'll be right back. You know,
yes.
I've often wondered, this is a complete change of subject now, but do you think we get our image of how we behave from the movies?
Very much so.
Do people...
Very much so. I think that very often in pictures that I've done, you know, I think it sometimes in relationships that I've had with girls on the screen, it teaches them, you know, a point of view, tenderness, an approach of consideration. I think you get a lot of this, certainly in movies that I've done.
I think I was shaped, my feelings, at least as a kid, I remember thinking, so that's how you behave with ladies.
You know, how
you saw it on the screen.
To light 2 cigarettes at once.
Yeah.
You know, how to be gentle, kind, considerate.
I could never figure out, though, as a kid in Nebraska, where those nightclubs were that I saw in the movies. But
well, you never ran into that beautiful girl as you're walking down the street, and suddenly she said you got a light, and she was gorgeous. It was either Lauren Bacall or Lana Turner, and you...
No, not in Grand Island. It was the assistant librarian who... Let's take a look at this, though, and because I think this clip isn't... This is from Champion, which is...
now this is a perfect scene to show, I mean, manners, to show how a man should treat a lady.
Good influence of film on... Okay.
Yes.
Guess what? I'm already married.
You're a liar.
You think so? Well, the next time you're in Chicago, you go to 46 Eagle Street. And if you don't find Mrs. Michael Kelly there, I'll marry any day you say. I ain't kidding. I'm not kidding you.
You've been taking me for sucker all this time.
Honey, you never asked me if I was married. Anyway, what's the difference? You did all right with me. I'm gonna hock the Harris up to my ears.
Where are you going?
Out. I got a date with a lady. You know what a lady is? Nah, how could you? You know anything about sculpting? You know anything about the opera? Nah, all you know is how to spend money, huh? Well, so long, Gracie. I gotta be going.
I'm going with you. You're not going to shake me now.
Yes, I am. You dumped me once. Now I'm dumping you. For good.
You know, in that scene, it just reminded me when I said I used the address 46 Eagle Street. Well, I used to live on 46 Eagle Street in Amsterdam, New York, when I was a kid. It's a little town upstate. And I remember after this picture, my mother was alive then, and my mother, whose name is Bryna, by the way, is the name of my company now, the Bryna Company.
Yeah.
And I called my mother up, you know, and I said, gee, Ma, I just signed $1 million contract. She said, but son, are you eating enough? I said, yeah, Ma, I signed $1 million contract. You looked awful thin in your last picture. You know, my mother, a typical immigrant woman, I mean, she couldn't, you know, that was all beyond her comprehension. All she was concerned about, were you eating enough? Were you putting on enough weight?
What did you think when you played a nasty character like that guy? I mean, you have a way of being lovable and hateable at the same time. You know,
well, you know, I really think it seriously bothered my mother. You know, when I played someone like the scene that we just saw in Champion, and I've played, you know, I've always believed virtue is not photogenic, and I think I've always been attracted to a part. I rather play the evil character most of the time than the nice fellow. And I think it really bothered my mother because she would tell people, you know, no, my son's not like that. He's really a nice boy.
Well, there seemed to be a period, I was reading back clippings about you and all, where they liked to say that you were not a nice guy. A famous lady columnist, I believe, said that after that movie, which made you, as they say, that you became less than pleasant.
Well, as a matter of fact, what she actually said, well, I won't say exactly what she said, but right after the picture, Hedda Hopper, who was quite a character, said, you know, Kirk Douglas, she said, ever since Champions come out, you've become a real SOB. She actually said it. And I said, you know, by this time, everybody had been saying all these things the minute something happens that's successful. I said, look, Hedda, you're absolutely wrong. I said, you know, I was an SOB before Champion, but you never noticed it. But the point is, Dick, that really, I think the difficult thing is that in movies, no one is equipped to take any kind of success. And when after a person does his first successful picture, really he doesn't change as much as other people change. Their whole attitude changes toward him, and it's a difficult readjustment. I'm sure you know, you find that readjustment since the time you were looking for that
nickel.
For that nickel. Suddenly, it's a difficult process of readjusting to any form of success. I think it's very difficult.
That is true. The background changes behind you, really, in a way.
Exactly. And people, in a sense, change more than you do, but they're not aware of it because they look at you differently.
I'd still like to have that nickel, though. I could still use it. Here's something old. Here's something new from Kimberly Clark. We'll be right back. Which movie would you flush down the John of yours?
Oh, that's very easy.
Oh.
I have several that could go that route, but I think the one that I would do the quickest to is a picture called Big Trees. I literally did it for nothing. I had the only time I ever had a contract, which was I've always been independent, was a picture a year at Warner Brothers, and I wanted to get out of that picture a year. So they said, no, you can't get out. I said, I'll get out. I'll do the next picture for nothing. They said, you're kidding? I said, no, I'll do it. They don't have to pay me. So I did the picture. It was called Big Trees. I did it for nothing. It was a terrible picture, and that's the way it should end.
And that's the way. How do you convince Internal Revenue that you actually did a movie and got no money for it? Did they have to give you a little note saying, Kirk is telling the truth?
No, they have to pay me something. They paid me for that picture about as much as you pay me for being on this show.
Oh. Then you have no problems. I can see.
Just to satisfy the tax people.
But you haven't been affected by the slump. We hear that Hollywood is a ghost town, that it's really a boarded-up place, and yet you've got 3 or 4 irons in the fire all the time. How have you managed to avoid the slump?
Well, I don't think so much of it as a slump, Dick, as I think it's going through it definitely is going through a transition period. I think there's a need for movies. Movies will become more and more important. I think people love movies. You need them on TV as well as in theaters. In my own case, because I was always independent, because I've also loved to work in finding properties and develop them, if I couldn't find financing here, I went to Europe. I had Light at the Edge of the World, a picture I did with Yul Brynner of Jules Verne, that was financed in Spain. Catch Me a Spy, a picture coming out this fall, was financed with France and with France and London. And then I did a Western with Johnny Cash, a gunfight, and that picture was financed by the Hickory Apache Indian tribe.
I was going to ask you about that.
Go ahead, ask me.
I don't need to now. No, seriously, I saw the movie last night, and of course, one feels obligated to say I enjoyed it, even if you didn't. But I did in this case, luckily, so it's easy to say. It's a real good Western. And right at the beginning, it says the Hickory Apaches.
Yes.
Present, or something. It doesn't actually say present, but I wondered about that. What?
No, the Hickory Apache Indian tribe in Dulce, New Mexico, actually financed the film. They put up over $2 million to finance the film, and there are no Indians in it. And as a matter of fact, when they came to, we had a press conference in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And when they came, we were walking into the press conference, and a reporter came up to me and said, "Kirk, are those Indians in your next picture?" I said, "Are they in the picture? They own it." Which, of course, they do. They have put up the financing.
Why do the Hickory Apaches have money when most Indians are really in terrible straits?
Well, I think it depends. I think there are other tribes who have managed their finances much better and have done. I don't think they're the only Indian tribe that have money. I think the Hickory Apache Indian tribe have a very sophisticated program of investments. I hope that their investment in a gunfight turns out very well, because I'd hate to be a scalped actor.
Yes, how do you say diplomatically to a group of Apache warriors, "You've taken a bath at the box office, boys"? That's a terrible thought. But it is
but
really isn't.
I think with a gunfight, I think they're going to do very well. I hope so, because it will encourage them to invest in other pictures. If not, I don't know what will happen.
Yeah. But I'd love to hear a little about that movie, because it's a thoroughly entertaining movie. It's a good idea.
Well,
we can't do it now, however. We'll be right back, then we'll talk about it. Stay where you are. You know, I was surprised, I don't know why I should be surprised, that Johnny Cash was such a good actor. You always, do you ever resent it a little bit when you've been in 55 movies and he's in one and he comes off as well as an actor who's been in many, many movies?
Oh, no, I've never had that problem. I think the better the other person is, the better I can be.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, in a gunfight, I picked Johnny Cash. I watched him on TV, and I think he has a wonderful quality. And I never met him before. I just picked up the phone and talked to him. We had about 4 or 5 conversations on the phone. He was very apprehensive about doing a movie, and I sent him the script, and finally went down to Nashville, Tennessee. And, you know, he agreed to do the picture. And I thought, did you think he was wonderful?
Yes, he's
I think
quite
he has
good.
a wonderful quality when you think
it's
about his,
of course, and it's perfect for this.
It's about his first movie, and I think he does a terrific job.
Yeah, there's no sense of a guy just making it like there often is when a guy makes his first film. You forget about it.
Do you have a clip from?
I have a piece from Gunfight. Yeah. Oh yeah, I wouldn't invite you here and show a piece from a Laurel and Hardy movie.
You wouldn't.
Do you want to see it? I don't want to bore you with it if you don't want to see it.
It's your show. I've seen the movie.
Yeah. This is good. Take a look. You'll see the 2 fellows we just mentioned, and I'm not in it.
All in all, Tenere, you don't seem bad located here.
Making wages is all. About as much a month as I used to spend in a day.
Yeah, but without getting shot at.
Getting talked at near as bad. Marv here pays me to stand around so the cow folks will buy drinks. Then they start asking, how are things in Dodge, Kansas City, Tombstone?
I bet you're really the one that can tell them, huh?
You being funny?
No. No, just remembering Kansas talk. They say you killed Ringo.
Yeah. It's like me here and you were strung up dead by a posse in Santa Fe.
Well, that ain't exactly the truth, but somebody sure enough killed Ringo.
Can't argue that. You know, it's really strange to watch yourself in a movie. It just occurred to me, you know, at one time I had a real hang-up. There were like 6 movies that I'd already finished that I had never
seen.
Really? Yeah, I've gotten to the point where I think I've seen, but I rarely. There are very few movies that I can watch myself in. I'm always dissatisfied. As a matter of fact, there's only one movie that I really love, watching myself in. It's a little picture called Lonely Are the Brave.
Oh, yeah.
And when I watch that movie, I say, Kirk, terrific. It's the only movie. I mean, otherwise, it's a funny feeling. Now, in this scene, I really... See, I don't think people realize what a tremendous thing that is for Johnny Cash, really in his first feature picture, you know, to do such a good job. I think he's wonderful. Yeah, after all, I have done a few movies.
I love the way he does that line about that. That may be true, but somebody did kill Johnny Ringo. Is that the name?
Wonderful. He has a wonderful quality.
Why do you look bigger on the screen? Are you as big as you'd like to be? I mean... No, I mean, you do look a little bigger. As I see you here, you're no shrimp by any means. But you know what I mean? You have a slight increase of size on the screen.
There's a theory that actors, you know, so-called stars, should never appear as they are. Because how can you ever be as big as people think of you on the screen?
Yeah.
You know, the screen, you know, you're bigger than life. When you think of the Romans that I've killed, the blood, oh my gosh, the blood. You know, you think of all the things you do, you know, movies should be bigger than life.
Yeah.
So that's why it's difficult when the public is used to seeing you on the screen where one eye can be about 5 feet, and suddenly you're, it's, in many ways, it's a letdown. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Dick. I really wanted you to...
Fine, I mean, if they don't have a bigger version of you, this will do. What is your actual height?
5'11".
It is 5'11".
Yeah.
But you're taller than Richard Burton, then.
Well, I've never...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Is that good?
I guess so.
I'm ahead of the game?
To be ahead of Burton in anything is good. We will be right back after this message. We're talking during the break about, you mentioned you broke your nose earlier, and during the break I asked you how. It was a horse broke it for you.
Well, I was doing a horse fall. We're talking about, you know, in Europe, with European films, very often they don't do a horse fall. It's dangerous for the horse. But in
I'm
the
sure
United
they mash
States...
them up over there. Yeah.
Oh, it's very often serious. In the United States, a horse is trained to fall. Yeah. And I was doing a picture called Indian Fighter. As a matter of fact, the first movie I did with my company, Bryna, and the first time Walter Matthau worked in the picture. And I was falling a horse in the picture, and the signal to fall the horse was to pull, it varies in different horses, to pull one rein, so you pull the horse's head around and he falls. And then the danger is you got to get this leg out of the way, you see, so when the horse falls, you get this leg out. When you fall down with it, you can't fall. But one time, in falling the horse, I leaned over, and when the horse's head went around, bang, broken nose.
And did it push your nose into your, into your face?
Did a little, it's still a little crooked.
Yeah.
I hate to keep, you know, pointing out these imperfections because you've been so good at pointing them out for me, but I hate to add to these imperfections, but I do have a crooked nose.
That's right. That's right. But people like to know that you're human. And that
I see.
I think that's terrific about the Hickory Apaches. I can't get over that, financing the movie. I don't think they'd finance a John Wayne movie, though, if they read his Playboy interview. Did you see that? He said he didn't think that it was bad that we took this country away from the Indians because a lot of people needed land, and the Indians were being selfish and thought that they ought to have it. And is that the John Wayne you know?
No
you made
comment.
a movie.
No, as a matter of fact, I don't want to get involved in a conversation on John Wayne. Because I tell you, I've made quite...
You're closer to his size than I am, so get in here.
No, I've made quite a few pictures with John Wayne. And by the way, I've always called him John. Everybody calls him Duke. Yeah. We have never seen eye to eye on a lot of things. But professionally, I think he's one of the most professional actors I've ever worked with.
Oh, yeah, he is.
And I've worked, I don't know, about 4 or 5 pictures with him. The last one I did was War Wagon. We worked in Harm's Way. In Cast a Giant Shadow, which was a picture done in Israel, Wayne was the one who set it up. Yeah. Wayne is the one who called me in London and said, "Hey, Kirk, I think there's a part you ought to play." So we have never, whenever we work in a picture, we rarely, maybe we'll have dinner together one night during the whole picture. But we get along very well. We never discuss politics.
Stay off politics,
that's right.
Fact. Yeah.
That's right. But he's the first guy on the set. He's the hardest worker I've ever worked with. Yeah. And I think he's quite a character. As a matter of fact, I just saw a picture of his Big Jake, which will be coming out soon. And it's a really good John Wayne picture.
He really is a giant personality on the screen.
Yes, he is. I mean...
Has he been hurt by a horse? Would a horse dare hurt him?
Oh, I think he'd hurt a horse.
Probably. They really can't get a horse big enough for him, can they? How big is John Wayne? I'm interested in dimensions.
I'd say John's about 6'4".
He is that tall?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
No wonder you don't see eye to eye. Oh, there I am, harping on your size again. You made a Jules Verne film that I've heard about for some time, and I don't mean 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That's back.
Light at the Edge of the World. Yes.
Is that out? That's coming out.
It's coming out. It opened in Washington. It's coming out soon in this area. And matter of fact, the reason I did it was because of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I always wanted to do another Jules Verne picture.
There's a lot of good stuff in Jules Verne to do.
Yeah.
I asked if they could get a little clip from that. Do we have a little bit of?
Yeah, I think they put together some things from a trailer. I haven't seen it, but I'll be glad to.
Okay.
I'll be glad to explain it.
Okay.
This was all shot in Spain. It's a very simple story in that the light represents goodness. I play a good man in this, and Yul Brynner plays the evil man. And when the light is out, you have the results of evil, which is the wreckers come in and wreck the ships. This is beautiful country. It's all in a place near where Salvador Dali lives, in Cadaqués, Spain. This is a French actor, Jean-Louis Drouot. Of course, that's Samantha Egger. Yes, and there he is, the evil one himself. But don't worry, I don't want anybody to be frightened because at the end, everything works out all right. But I wanted to do a picture, Dick, that's sheer entertainment. That's in very simple terms. It doesn't try to make anything more profound than that good takes care of evil. Yeah. What? You should see what happened.
Wait a minute. We saw a horse with a horn, and then you running off the...
I was being pursued. That was a scene. Yul plays this game where he has this sharp, like a unicorn on the horse, where he tries to run me down. That Light at the Edge of the World, again, is an example of the different ways of making movies. We've talked about the Indian tribe financing one. This was financed by a Spanish bank. And we shot this. This was all shot in Spain. Frankly, I get a little tired of going to, far off places to make movies, and get away from my family. I prefer to be making more movies here.
Yeah, but you got to go where the scenery is.
Exactly.
We have a message. We'll be right back. Talking with Kirk Douglas. We haven't been terribly personal tonight. Do you ever get really depressed, down, gloomy?
Sure, I think.
Don't want to go outside.
I mean, isn't that a human process? I think everybody, you go through different periods of your life where you sort of take self-inventory, and you wonder, what am I doing? Am I doing what I want to do? I think the person, really, happiness in life, really is doing the work that you want to do. And I think for someone to be working at what he wants to do is very fortunate. So in that way, I think that I'm more aware now how lucky I am than I used to be. I think a lot of things that I used to take for granted, I appreciate now. Because I think I'm lucky to have been able to do the thing that I want to do in life, and that is to make movies. I think it's a great contribution, because I think the greatest contribution of movie making is not the statement that a movie might make. It's fine for a movie to have a statement, but I don't think there's anything, Dick, more important than the fact that if you make a movie and for an hour and a half or 2 hours, millions of people all over the world are taken out of their problems. The reason a person goes to a movie is to forget the problems of their life. So if you permit them to forget their problems and get involved in what you're doing on the screen, I think that's the most important contribution. And I think that sometimes there's a tendency to be pretentious with movies and become too concerned with making a statement. I've been guilty of the same thing myself. That's why in Light at the Edge of the World, I wanted to make sheer entertainment. If it could entertain someone for 2 hours, I think that's great.
So you don't have any doubts about your life being misspent. Some actors say a man in the acting profession always wonders if it's a really manly profession. Should he be out engineering?
Well, it isn't a manly profession. It's a childish profession. You couldn't be a complete grown-up adult and be an actor. You have to have a childish part of you. I mean, after all, if I were a sophisticated adult, how could I say, here I am fighting evil represented by Yul Brynner? You have to have a childish part of you. It's true.
Or making a guy take his shirt off.
As my kids have grown up, I've watched them, you know. Children are natural actors. They pretend they're cops and robbers. And I think all actors retain a certain amount of that within themselves. They have to, or they couldn't function as actors. And I think that's why they become self-denigrating. They think, well, it's not enough.
Yeah. I get the feeling that you are capable of a terrific bad temper. Oh, I see.
What
I
makes
was
you
right.
say that?
No, I do. I have that, and it's probably one of the many
see
things.
that in you.
It's probably one of the many things that we have in common.
Well, I don't know that
I wondered if you're snappish. Can you get?
Yes, I think, as a matter of fact, that's been a healthy thing for me.
Yeah.
I don't think it's given me a very pleasant reputation often, but I think it's been a good escape valve. I think very often I'm too quick to express myself in anger or whatever it might be. It's healthy for me because it lets the steam out, but very often if people don't understand it, you know, it doesn't create a very favorable impression.
After you blow up at somebody, do you feel sad?
Terrible.
Yeah,
Terrible.
I do
I
too.
bother about, what does he think? Why did I say this? What a bully I was.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that. It's awful.
Yeah, I have that too.
We
let's
have
see,
a
what
lot
else
in
we can-
common, Dick.
Let's see. How much sleep do you need?
How much sleep do I need?
Yeah.
5-6 hours. We have nothing in common.
No. No, I can sleep literally round the clock. And,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what. No. No, I
from time
don't
to
need.
time.
If I have 5, 6, 7 hours, would be.
You read a newspaper every day?
Oh yes.
Do you?
Yes, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, don't you think actors are also concerned with what's going on in the world? Perhaps sometimes they're a little bit too concerned.
Some are, but I don't think they have to be. I mean, I don't think everybody has to be. I don't see why they should apologize if they don't, for example. I mean, some actors don't need to. They should just act or do what they want to do.
No, but you mean they don't read the paper? I mean, you're still a part of the world you live in. You don't divorce yourself from the world you live in. You're interested in knowing what's going on around you. I think everybody owes it themselves to be aware of the world they live in, to be a part of it.
Yeah.
No?
I think it's good if they do.
Again,
but
we don't have anything in
I don't
common?
insist on it. I mean, I think a man could just write poetry if he wanted to, and I wouldn't care if he ever read a paper or not.
Oh, I'm not concerned by that. I just think that they would be missing something by not being concerned with what's happening in the world. To just cut yourself off from the world would be, depriving yourself of your environment, so to speak.
I can see why an artist like Ingmar Bergman, for example, would say he just cuts himself off from all life the whole time he's making a film because he just wants that tunnel vision on his work.
Well, he may do that, sure. I can understand while you're making a film, you tend to block out the rest of the world. I understand that.
Yeah.
I think that happens to all of us. I think all actors tend to focus just on what they're doing, but that's just for a temporary period of time. Then you have to go back into the world you're living, no?
Yeah. What's the closest you ever were to death?
Well,
You
as
ever
a
had a
matter of
moment where you
fact,
thought this is it?
I tell you very honestly,
Yeah.
it was in this picture, A Light at the Edge of the World. I'll tell you a very true story. We were shooting this picture. It has very sharp, jagged rocks all around. And in one scene, I did a stunt myself, and I thought I was being very careful. And I asked my stuntman I was up on top of a roof, and I had to jump down. So I put a platform below the roof, because the rocks were on the other side, and I put the stuntman there just to double check to brace me. It was in a rehearsal. I jumped off the roof onto the platform and went to him for support. He fell off. We both went right off the platform into the rocks. And I think, to me, I was very fortunate because the rocks there, if just have hit one jagged rock, it was about a 15, 18-foot fall, you could easily split your head open. And I think that accidents, when accidents happen in pictures very often, it's usually a silly thing. It's something that you never anticipated. And I try to anticipate. People very often say, I got a nose for danger. People very often say, Kirk, how does this smell? Because I think I'm not I don't do things stupidly. I've done lots of my own stunts, but I try to work everything out carefully.
But that one
In the
shows you
scene with Woody Strode, I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't confident in Woody. I knew that we could both work together.
Spartacus scene.
Yes.
Yeah. Message. We'll be right back. Would you let me make an experiment? Don't give away any clues here. How many know what movie he won the Oscar for? Anyone? Who knows? What? 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 Spartacus? Who else has a guess? The Champion? Who else? That's right. Never won. It's interesting. People don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter. Or maybe it does. Does it matter to you?
No, I think a lot of people do know. I know.
You know. But I mean, it's funny, you just assume that a number of people have, and you start to see the list of people who haven't won an Oscar. It's astounding.
Yeah. No,
well, they give those honorary ones to make up for it after a while. But
no, I've been nominated 3
difference?
times. But
Yeah, you're
yes,
up all the time.
It makes a big difference. I think every actor would really like to win an Oscar. I won a New York Film Critics Award for Lust for Life when they had newspapers.
Yeah.
But I think you'd like to win. An Oscar has great significance because it's voted on, you know, by the people of your own industry.
Yeah.
And
yet George Scott has made it respectable to turn one down now.
Well, I thought George was very wrong. I voted for him because I thought he gave the best performance.
Yeah.
But I thought George was wrong. And as a matter of fact, I put George in almost one of his first pictures, List of Adrian Messenger.
Oh, yes.
I thought he was wrong because if you do a picture like Patton, which is done by a big studio, it's done with big money, you have an agent comes in and negotiates the biggest deal you can make for yourself, then as a result of that, if you're nominated, then to turn against the system, I think is wrong. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad that in spite of that, that George won the Oscar because I think he deserved it.
Yeah, even though he didn't want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won it.
Maybe you can get his. We have less than a minute in this segment left. Who got a part you wanted at some point?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you this. There are 2 people who got I'm Not So Smart. This, again, after all, this whole program was to show my imperfections. I'll give you a few more.
Okay.
You see, Dick, I'm Not So Smart because I turned down 2 parts. Both of them won Oscars.
What were they?
Stalag, 17, Bill Holden won an Oscar.
Yeah.
Cat Ballou, Lee Marvin won an Oscar. I turned them both down, so you can add that to my imperfections.
That's pretty good. And Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, you turned down and it made $1.5 million or something like that?
No, they offered me.
Oh, they offered you that?
That much. And that's another one. That's another one of my boo-boos. Oh, you're really heaping it on. You know how to hurt a fellow.
Oh, the man is full of warts. We have a brief message. Kirk Douglas, in spite of your imperfections, you're a shining example. And it's really been a pleasure to meet you. You've really been a...
Thank you, Dick. I've really enjoyed being on the show.
It's been fun.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. We'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.